The chandeliers in Maison Elite Boutique on Victoria Island did not flicker for ordinary people. They blazed, cold, diamond white, unforgiving, for women who wore their wealth like a second skin. Women who arrived in black Range Rovers with tinted glass. Women whose perfume announced them 3 seconds before they entered a room. Women exactly like Chisholm Addis Briggs, 24 years old, Lagos socialite, 140,000 followers on Instagram, and the pampered niece of Chief Roland Addis Briggs, one of the most powerful men in Nigeria. Chisholm moved through the boutique like the floor owed her something. She was flanked by 2 friends who laughed when she laughed, frowned when she frowned, and existed, it seemed, for no other purpose. Her nails were freshly done in chrome gold. Her handbag cost more than most teachers earned in a year. And she was in a magnificent, venomous mood, the kind that needed a target. She found one near the accessories rack. The girl was easy to miss, which was perhaps why nobody had thought to remove her. She stood quietly beside a display of silk scarves, turning one over in her hands with careful, reverent fingers, as though she understood that beautiful things deserve to be handled gently. She wore a plain blue Ankara blouse, a wrapper skirt that had been washed so many times the pattern had softened into something faded and gentle, and rubber slippers that had clearly walked many roads. Her hair was natural, thick, unprocessed, pulled back without apology. She carried a small cloth bag on her shoulder. She looked, to Chisholm's practiced and contemptuous eye, like she had walked out of a village market and wandered into the wrong building. "Excuse me." Chisholm's voice cut through the boutique's soft music like a blade. "Are you lost?" The girl looked up. Her eyes were calm, remarkably, almost unerringly calm, and very dark. She had a face that, if you bothered to look at it properly, held a kind of quiet elegance. But nobody in that boutique was bothering. "I'm not lost," the girl said. Her voice was soft, her English careful and deliberate. "I came to inquire about a job vacancy." The sign outside said. "A job?" Chisholm repeated the words like they were amusing. She turned to her friends with a bright, cruel smile. "Did you hear that? She came for a job." Laughter. Several other shoppers paused. A phone appeared, it always did. "Sweetheart." Chisholm stepped closer, tilting her head with theatrical sympathy. "Look at yourself. Look at your shoes. You walked into Maison Elite, do you even know what that means? Looking like you just finished harvesting cassava. This is not a place for people like you. This is not your level." The girl said nothing. She set the scarf down carefully. "What is your name?" Chisholm demanded. "Adore," the girl said quietly. "Adore Nwosu." "Adore." Chisholm tasted the name mockingly. Very local. Very village. "Adore, I am going to help you today. I'm going to save you the embarrassment of staying here any longer." She reached out and touched the fabric of Adore's blouse between 2 fingers, as though it might contaminate her. "You are ugly. You are unrefined. You are not the kind of thing we want representing this store. Go back to wherever you came from." Adore's jaw tightened, barely. Only someone watching very closely would have seen it. "I meant no disrespect," Adore said. "I will leave." She reached down to lift her cloth bag. And that was when Chisholm slapped her. It was sharp, sudden, and loud enough to cut through all other sound in the boutique. Adore's head turned with the force of it. The watching phone caught everything, the impact, the gasp of the crowd, the way Adore slowly turned her face back forward, her expression not crumbling into tears as Chisholm expected, but settling instead into something still undignified and deeply, quietly devastating. She did not raise her hand. She did not cry. She did not beg. She simply looked at Chisholm, truly looked at her, and then she walked out of the boutique in her worn rubber slippers, her back straight, her chin level, carrying herself like someone who knew exactly who she was, even if no one else in that room did. What nobody in that boutique knew was this. Ada Nwosu had been told her whole life to be invisible. Her grandmother, Mama Chidinma, a fierce, weathered woman who lived in a small compound in Inogwoku, had raised her with one quiet rule above all others. Do not tell anyone your father's name. Do not ask questions. Protect what I give you, and when the time comes, God will open the door. The time had come, Ada believed, when Mama Chidinma died 3 months ago, pressing a small envelope into her hands with trembling fingers. Inside was a locket, silver, old, expensive in a way that made no sense against their poverty, and a document folded so many times the creases had become soft as cloth. She had not opened the document fully. Not yet. Something in her grandmother's dying eyes had told her to wait. She had come to Lagos for 2 things, answers, and a life. She had not expected the slap. On the street outside Maison Elite, a man in a dark suit paused. Emeka Okafor had spent 22 years working for Chief Roland Adi's bricks. He had learned, in those 2 decades, to pay attention to things other people dismissed. It was why he was still employed. It was why he was trusted. He had been passing the boutique on an errand when the girl walked out. And something, he could not yet name what, made him stop. Her face. The particular way she held herself. The shape of her jaw, the angle of her cheekbones. He had seen that face before, in an old photograph that sat in a sealed file in his employer's private office. A file marked restricted in Chief's own handwriting. He watched her walk down the street, rubbing her cheek once, only once, and then dropping her hand as though she refused to give the pain any more acknowledgement than that single moment. Emeka took out his phone and made a call. "Sir," he said carefully when the line connected. "I think you need to send someone to verify something. I just saw a girl outside Maison Elite on 6. Her name," he had heard it through the boutique's glass door, "is Ada Nwosu." The silence on the other end lasted 4 full seconds. "Find her," said Chief Roland Adi's bricks. "Do not lose her." Chief Roland was 61 years old, and he had buried his guilt so deep it had become part of his foundation. 25 years ago, before the billions, before the conglomerate, before the political connections and the Victoria Island mansion, he had loved a woman named Nneka Nwosu, quietly, recklessly, and in complete defiance of his family's plans. When Nneka became pregnant, his family had acted with the swift, ruthless efficiency of people protecting an investment. There were threats, arrangements, payments. Nneka disappeared to the east. The child, a daughter, he was told, was kept safe but kept secret. He had told himself it was protection. He had told himself, for 25 years, that it was the only way. He had also known, every single day, that it was cowardice. When Emeka placed a photograph before him, taken discreetly outside the boutique, Roland Adi's brick sat in his leather chair for a very long time and said nothing. The girl in the photograph had Nneka's cheekbones. She had his mother's eyes. She carried herself with the dignity of someone who had chosen, deliberately and at cost, to be better than the circumstances pressing down on her. He pressed his thumb to the photograph and felt something crack open in his chest. "Where is she now?" he asked. "A small hotel in Suralere," Emeka said. She's been in Lagos for days. Sir, there is something else. He paused. The video. Miss Chisholm slapped her this afternoon. It's already getting some attention online. Roland looked at his nephew's daughter's name in his mind and felt a cold, very clear anger settle over him. Chisholm, who lived in his house? Who used his name? Who had driven out shopping today on his account? Set up a meeting, he said. Private. Tomorrow morning. Ado almost did not go. When the hotel's front desk called her room to say a car had been sent, that Chief Roland Addis Briggs requested a meeting, her first instinct was fear. Her second was the memory of her grandmother's voice, when the door opens, Ado, walk through it. Walk through it with your head up. She wore her cleanest Ankara. She kept the locket around her neck. The meeting took place in a private lounge in a building so quietly opulent that the wealth almost felt respectful. Chief Roland was already seated when she entered. He was older than she had imagined, heavier, grayer, but he stood up when she walked in, which she had not expected. For a long moment, they simply looked at each other. You have your mother's face, he said, and his voice broke cleanly in the middle of the sentence. Ado reached into her cloth bag and placed the document on the table between them. The one her grandmother had kept folded for 25 years. A birth certificate. His name was on it. The confirmation they both already felt in their bones. 3 weeks later, Chief Roland Addis Briggs hosted a dinner at his Victoria Island home. The video of the boutique slap had, by then, gathered significant attention. Chisholm had laughed it off publicly. She sat at the dinner table that evening in a backless green gown, confident and unbothered, until the doors to the dining room opened and Ado walked in, this time in a simple but perfectly tailored dress, the silver locket at her throat, her natural hair framed softly around her composed face. The introduction was brief. Roland's voice carried across the room without effort. This is my daughter. Ado Roland Addis Briggs. She will be joining the family, and she will be given every recognition due to her. Chisholm's champagne glass stopped halfway to her lips. Ado looked at her across the long table. The same calm, dark eyes from the boutique. Not triumphant. Not cruel. Just steady. Chisholm opened her mouth. Closed it. And for the first time in her pampered, untested life, she found there was absolutely nothing to say. Later, when Roland asked his daughter what she wanted, from him, from the family, from the life now opening before her, Ado was quiet for a moment. I want to finish what I came to Lagos to do, she said. A job. Something I've earned. He looked at her, this daughter he had failed, who had survived without him, who had walked out of a boutique with her head high after a stranger struck her for the crime of being poor, and he understood that the wealth he could offer her was the least significant thing he had. The most significant thing she already possessed. Some people are hidden not because they are worthless, but because the world is not yet ready to receive them.